Good morning, everybody, and welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 28th of October, the morning after a Rangers win in the league, but it wasn't as straightforward as that. Rangers defeating St Mirren by 2-1 yesterday at Ibrox, ahead of Wednesday's big match up at Pittodrie against Aberdeen. Rangers opening the scoring through Mohamed Diamande, latching onto a Nico Raskin rebound. St Mirren equalising through Alexander Gogic from a corner. And Rangers huffed and puffed, but they eventually got that second goal. Cyril Dessers coming on as a substitute, the second half substitute, powering his way through into the penalty area before cutting the ball back to Václav Černý for his fifth goal in 4 games, I believe. So that is how it finished, 2-1. Chris was at the game for us. He was there with Stevie yesterday watching it unfold. I did feel a little bit sorry for you with the weather conditions and what you were witnessing before your very eyes, Chris. Wasn't the greatest of performances. Again, it was another one of those laboured displays and another 3 points and up the road job.
Can we leave it at the morning after our Rangers win and just leave it there and close the show and go and get about our Mondays? There's not really much not really many positives to take out of it apart from that. I didn't think it was great at all. It was flat. It was slow. It was pedestrian. St Mirren, I thought, played their part, played very well in stages. Stephen Robinson spoke post-match about how he felt his side deserved something from the game, and from watching it, I can't really complain, can't really argue with that assessment. I thought St Mirren pressed really well. They had good chances. If the one early on that Olasanya puts just wide of the far post, if that nestles in that far corner, Ibrox becomes a very different place. You mentioned the Diamande goal there. Even after that, Rangers don't capitalise on it. They don't kick on from it. Lose a goal from a set piece, and it takes a real bit of quality from Dessers, a neat finish from Černý to get Rangers over the line. But I don't think there was a lot there to really encourage people that this side have turned the corner heading to Aberdeen.
Yep, lots of comments coming. King Charles Spaniel with the point, many first-team players missing from the squad. The starting lineup, a few surprises in there. Cashin Muriok, delighted that he got a start at right back, incidentally. Not often you see James Tavernier start a game on the bench, but he did that. Jack Butland took the captain's armband. Thought he did well. Cashin Muriok, he was moved into the centre-half position, and we'll get on to this. I know you and Stevie talked about it yesterday, Chris. Robin Proper had a nightmare. There's no two ways about it. He had a shocker, and he was removed just after the hour mark, wasn't it? Around there or thereabouts, after pretty much being bullied by St Mirren striker. And it's raised questions whether he has the physicality to deal with the Scottish game. I've said before, he's yet to convince me he is the real deal. I know that Stevie said yesterday pretty much that the Dutch Ben Davis. Well, I watched Ben Davis the other week there for Birmingham and Garrett's League One down south against Bolton. He wasn't really tested, in all honesty. But give me Ben Davis over Robin Proper at this moment in time. I don't see it with him. I'm prepared to give him time. I'm not giving him the game on Wednesday, though.
I'm not giving him the game on Wednesday either, to be honest. I don't think that suits him at all. He was a name on the lips of many in the press room at half time yesterday, and in the press conference room where we're waiting on the manager coming in, and he almost sums up a mistake that I think a lot of managers make and have made. Your identity of a Scottish football centre half is big, strong, athletic, powerful, good in the air, wins his tackles, doesn't need to be cultured, doesn't need to be good on the ball. If you want someone like that alongside him, by all means, to give you that ability to build play from the back, someone who can maybe step in, someone who can maybe move into midfield, someone who's maybe flexible in terms of his position, like Cashin Muriok is. One of your centre halves just has to be a guy who can almost head it or kick it back in the direction from which it has come. Doesn't really need to be any more complicated than that. And proper, that's not him at all. I do get why managers try and have more cultured centre halves, but then look at the centre forwards that they're coming up against, and proper doesn't seem to have the capabilities of defending it. Now, Olasanya, he's not exactly huge. He's not exactly the most skillful striker in the world, but he caused Rangers many problems yesterday. I mentioned that one earlier on when he got away from Proper and then got in behind. That could easily have ended up in the net. The offside one, Proper's got his hand up and kind of jogging back. He was obviously confident that it was offside. He was more confident than I was watching it from the other end of the gantry. So I think he's going. Performances like that will make him not just a target for the Rangers fans, they make him a target for opposition strikers as well, because they will know you can rustle him up, you can be a bit more physical with him, and that you can then potentially get something out of him. So for me, it's Suter if he's fit, and Casemiro that play on Wednesday night. If Suter's not fit, the manager touched on that yesterday. He said he was unsure, having rested him for the game on medical advice. If Suter's not there, Balogun keeps his place. Got no qualms about that whatsoever. Happy for Balogun to keep his place, but Casemiro has to take the other centre half slot, because I know we'll probably come on and talk about Tav in a bit more depth, but Tav will come back into the side. Now, he was rested yesterday. He got his break. He got his time off. Still had to come into the match, obviously. He will start on Wednesday night. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So Casemiro for them, as he moves in one to centre half. If Proper lines up, I think we probably know how it's going to go. Aberdeen will really fancy their chances against them.
Yep. Alan with the point here. What's the situation with Proper? Was he bought or on loan? He was bought, Alan. Rangers managed to get him a sort of a cut price deal. The 20 fans weren't best pleased about it. He had a clause in his contract that Andres Olderlink, who worked with him in the past, knew about. So he flagged that up, and Rangers were able to bring him in. But there's no doubt about it. The jury is very much out. And like you, Chris, I'd be starting Casemiro as well. Just on Suter, like you said, he was rested at the weekend. Manager said it was quizzed, will he be okay for Wednesday? Says that I will see in the next few days. So that's the Suter situation. This is what the manager had to say, incidentally, as well, when he was quizzed on his team's performance and the difference between the first half and the second half.
That we can do better. That there were good things. There were moments that it was too slow, too sloppy. We started today with 7 players who are new this season here at Rangers. We're now almost end of October. Some are not even 2 months in the building. So step by step, we try to integrate them in the squads, and like this to get them used to their teammates, to the club, to the expectations on and off the field. So that's a work in progress. And the second half was for me then much better, with more urgency, more quality, also on the ball, and a higher tempo and better chances out of that.
It is a work in progress, Chris, but I've seen certainly on social media last night, the fans getting a little bit tired of the line. The players are just in the building. We're now heading into November. You'd like to think that the players all know each other and they're gelling now by this point. The manager did say, incidentally, remember, that we would see the best of Rangers at this time of year.
He's touched on that point a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. I think his stance is, he didn't say you would see the best finished article Rangers. He said that you would see a better improved, and he then backs it up and saying, well, they were better in September than they were the previous month. They're better in October than they were the previous month, and that's kind of natural, because you would hope that the more they train, the more they play, the more they get to know each other, they should be getting better week by week. I think Clement and the Rangers fans will maybe have differing opinions on how much better, if at all, if that's the right way, if that's the right way to phrase it, this side is actually improving. He clearly sees things from game to game, week to week, half to half. In the case of yesterday, that he's encouraged by. Overall this season, I don't think there's an awful lot there for the fans to really buy into and say this is the way forward. This is the way that Rangers are going to play. These are the guys that are going to be key. I think there's still more questions than answers over Rangers individually and collectively this season.
Yes, let's move on to, we mentioned Tav, of course. It was a surprise to see him start off the bench. But yeah, that will be with one eye on Wednesday night. Some shining lights in the game. I mentioned Václav Černý with the decisive goal yesterday. The midfield, again, Conor Barron, I thought did well. Nico Raskin, I thought did well. Chris, he got the sponsors man of the match after the game. Makia says he's coming onto a game man of the match by a mile yesterday. This is a good sign, is it not?
It is. It's a sign I think we've been waiting quite some time for. But Nico, I think he really needs to put together a run and to go and back up what was a really impressive performance on Thursday night. I know we spoke about that towards the end of last week of how good were Bucharest and what was the level of opposition. Regardless of that, it was just good to see Nico Raskin playing well last Thursday night. I thought he was one of the few that actually confirmed that on Sunday. Another really solid performance from him. That partnership with Barron could be quite productive. Diomande, good to see him getting his goal. I didn't think he offered an awful lot apart from that. Like to see more from him. I think there is more to come from him, but time will tell whether he can deliver that or not.
What do you think the issue is with him, Chris? Because, a lot of money was spent on him. He looked really good when he initially came in. Was that just given the fact that the Rangers midfield was so poor at that point in time? He hasn't really kicked on, has he?
Has he just been dragged down to Rangers level?
I worry
before him. I think Bairawi probably falls into that category as well, unfortunately. I think it's not been a great start to the season for Rangers overall. And I think also Diomande kind of falls into that category. Someone that's just really kind of waiting to try and get going. And hopefully that goal yesterday is a chance for him to really kind of kick on, because he did all the right things for that goal. He knows that Raskin's going to take the shot. He's ahead of it. He's alert. And when the ball then breaks to him, he's in a position to put it away. And it got Rangers a goal at an important time because, as I mentioned earlier on, St Mirren had started well. Rangers needed a goal. They had to do something in the game to quieten the game moans and groans within Ibrox. So Diomande did his part in that regard. But I think Raskin was the pick of the three. I think I've mentioned a number of times this season. For me, that is the three at present. That's the three that I like to see Clement go for. Certain games, perhaps like Wednesday night, Diomande could perhaps sit slightly deeper, give Rangers more of a flat three rather than the 2 and the 1. But I don't think that's going to happen. And certainly, while there's this concern over Tom Lawrence, again, manager asked about him yesterday, doesn't have a time frame on him yet. While there's that uncertainty, and while there's no Matondo, there's no Cortez, and Bairami has to play wide on the left hand side, that number 10 jersey should be Diomande's for this period of time. So I think we will see that three more often than not, and hopefully hopefully that partnership can improve and continue to grow, because we know how important that area of the side is.
Yep. Bairami, I'd like to see him in that number 10 role. I'm sure he would love to be in there as well. I was really hoping we'd see him in that position on Sunday, but it wasn't to be. Wednesday is looming at large, Chris. Aberdeen kept their winning run going, left it late against Dundee United, but what a powder keg of a game that's going to be at Pittodrie this Wednesday. Rangers, of course, the last season Rangers went up there, and the infamous 1-1 draw when Sam Lambers missed that absolute sitter with seconds of the game. The manager did say, I know the atmosphere from last season, so it's a good place to go. We had a really good night there last season, and I want to repeat that. I've seen him getting a bit of stick for that, given that it was just a 1-1 draw. James Tavernier with the injury time penalty to take a point. But a draw at Pittodrie this Wednesday won't be a good night for me, Chris, despite Aberdeen's start. This, for me, is a must-win. Would you agree?
I think Aberdeen are an unexpected problem for Clermont, but a real problem right now.
Yes.
It's one thing being 6 points behind Celtic, and you look at Celtic's record, and that's not a surprise that they have started the season in that manner. Before a ball was kicked, you would have expected Celtic to go and put together that run of form and probably win the first Old Firm game. Aberdeen were not expected to go and put together that run of form, and of course under new management with a number of new players of their own, having sold and lost their best player in Miovski over the summer. It's been really, really impressive so far from Aberdeen, and they've gone to Parkhead, reacted in adversity, come back, got a point, could have won that game in the end as well. So the way that Aberdeen have started is all credit to them, but it does put a lot of pressure on Rangers. They will ask different questions of Rangers on Wednesday. You can imagine what Pittodrie is going to be like. They will be really anticipating Rangers going up there. Far worse Aberdeen sides than this one, on far worse runs of form, have taken points off better Rangers sides than this. So it's a real challenge for Rangers. They have to see a number of comments saying about winning the battle, that type of thing. That's going to be a non-negotiable for Rangers if they turn up and it's Kilmarnock like, and they are not winning those duels. They are not winning the 50-50s. They're not winning the challenges. It's going to be a long night for Rangers. They have to start well. They have to assert themselves in the game, and you then hope that they then have the quality in the final third, like Tierney, as you mentioned earlier on, and good goal scoring form. Bayrami certainly. Dessers, who knows what we'll get. You're then relying on these guys to produce those moments of quality to help Rangers win the game. But I think we will find out quite a lot about this Rangers side as individuals and as a team, given what happens over the next 90 minutes on Wednesday.
It's a real test of their mettle and their mentality on Wednesday, whether they can stand up and be counted against a team that are getting all the plaudits at this moment in time. We've seen it before, teams such as Aberdeen starting off like a train and then falling away as the season progresses. It would be good just for a Scottish football standpoint if they can last the pace, but of course we want Rangers to be up there amongst it as well, and they cannot afford to go 9 points behind Aberdeen at this stage of the season. I refuse to look at that possibility come Thursday morning, but it's going to be a huge game. Forward in the striking positions, Chris, we've spoke many times that Rangers don't score enough goals. Good to see, as I touched on, Tierney scoring the winner yesterday, and Dessers making an impact from the bench. Hamza Igaman was afforded a start, his first since it's just his second start. Of course, he started against Hibs, didn't he? And it never quite happened for him. Removed at half time, but it just shows again Rangers light in that area of the pitch. Cyril Dessers will get the nod on Wednesday. You would imagine we need him to be better than what he has been.
We do. I thought he played his part off the bench, and he had his usual handful of moans and groans at the referee and opposition defenders. He spent a bit of time on the deck. He spent a bit of time with his hands in the air. He missed a couple of chances, but that's just Cyril Dessers. That's what we've come to know and expect. He did do really well for that winning goal, and he offered more than Igaman. I think it was the right call to start him after he came off the bench on Thursday night and got his goal. Confidence would have been high. It felt like a good fixture to give Dessers a rest for as long as possible. Unfortunately, Clermont could only do it for 45 minutes because I think he was needed at the break. It didn't really work for Igaman. Didn't really get going. Picked up that booking inside a couple of minutes. Really didn't offer an awful lot in the minutes that followed in the first half, and it wasn't wasn't a surprise to see him removed at half time. I thought Rangers looked better in the second half with Dessers there. What are we going to get from him on Wednesday night? It's either going to be a handful of missed chances and he doesn't score, or it could be a really Betis-like performance where he leads the line, drives Rangers on, scores, and it can become one of the best nights that he's had so far this season. So it is a big night for him. He has had his critics in recent weeks. I think he was always going to, because when the goals dry up, he then doesn't have that defence. No, I think we all know what he is good at. We certainly know what he's bad at. When the goals aren't there, the negatives, they're picked on even more. They become even more highlighted. When he is scoring, he can say, well, yes, I might not be holding the ball up, or I might not be able to do this, that, or the next thing, but at least the ball is going in the back of the net. So he really needs to try and get back in a scoring run. He did start the season well in that regard, but I think it's D as the last time that he scored over a month ago. He certainly needs one, and there would be no better time for him to get one on Wednesday night.
Yep, let's hope he's got his shooting boots on. He did well for the goal. We want to see more of that from him. I know Stevie says it was almost like a prime Purcell who used to do that back in the day. How he would love a Dado Purcell up front for Rangers. He certainly loved a trip to Pittodrie. So yeah, that is a concern of mine, Rangers, in terms of firepower heading up there. Andrew with the point says, how far away is Danilo from making the first team squad? Played for the B team last week, scored, but doesn't look ready yet to feature for the first team. I think he may be a wee while off, Chris, or when should we expect to see Danilo? We're all itching for him to get back in amongst it due to the lack of options up there.
There's not really been a time scale put on it. As you mentioned there, he did play. He got some minutes last week against Stenhousemuir, got his goal as well. That was obviously his first action for quite some time as he kind of works through this latest kind of recovery period. I would be surprised if we see him. Well, he's definitely not going to start on Wednesday, put it that way. He's definitely not going to start against Motherwell at the weekend. But hopefully we will see him back in the squad soon. Manager's not mentioned him in the last couple of pressers. It may well come up on Tuesday afternoon when he speaks ahead of the Aberdeen game. So we'll try and find out. Yeah.
And there's a point as well. Thanks to Billy for flagging this up. He says, Friday briefing, it's Monday. That's on me, Billy. When I was in the details for the show, I forgot to change Friday to Monday. So I'll take the rap for that one. Some other talk points from the game. John raises a point. What do you think about the referee yesterday? Absolutely shocking. He's a new referee in the main. Never had the best of games, getting in the way a fair bit, and some questionable decisions. What did you make of his performance, Chris?
Stephen Robinson wasn't a fan of it. He mentioned it a couple of times in his presser. Didn't go into that much detail on it, probably knowing what would be landing on his desk first thing on a Monday morning if he did. So I think that's a shame, because he obviously felt aggrieved at certain situations, and didn't feel that he could go into it. I think in general, we all know the standard of Scottish referees. It's just not that high at present. In a Rangers sense, there's almost a rebuild going on. There's this transition. A lot of newer referees coming in at present. A lot of new ones in the building at Hampden, shall we say, have lost a bit of experience in that regard. It is going to take time for these guys to get up to speed without sounding too much like the Rangers manager. But I think overall, once again, the standard this season has not been that great.
No. The incident at the end, right, the Desser's running through, tries to round the goalkeeper, goes down by Balcom. Was it a penalty for you watching it at the time? I wouldn't have been given it, and it wasn't given after quick VAR check. Should it have been given?
It didn't jump out at me at the time. I was typing at the time and just looked up and saw it as Des was at the deck. So and since you're not really sure whether it's a stone waller or not. So I've not actually seen that one. I've seen that one back. So I will do my Arsene Wenger impression, sit on the fence and say that I've not seen it. But as I think Clement didn't mention it. I don't think it was that big a point for him in the end. But as you say, that it was obviously checked and then decided otherwise, and then the whistle went and everyone got to go home.
Yes, I wouldn't have given it, but let us know in the comments, folks, if you disagree. But some other points that the manager did mention after the game. We talked about Cashin Weirjo. Because the Rangers look more comfortable defensively when he moved to centre half. He says, I'm making changes for a reason. One moment, so I wanted to get some stability in the way that St Mirren were playing, and he did a good job in that way. So we'll see for the future in that way. He was playing also, did a good job on the right fullback, although he could play more offensive in the first half. Second half was much better in that way. That's why we brought him in also, because he's still young. He's only 22 with a lot of potential, and he can play all over the defence. He played a really good game in Malmo in the left fullback in a certain role. It's not the same role that Jefty has, for example. So we're really pleased how he came into the building, how he's in the squad, how he's available also in different positions. And you need players like that, so I can praise him also after this game. We'll hear from the manager tomorrow when he conducts his pre-match press conference. We'll get an idea which players are available and which players aren't. It's quizzed on Tom Lawrence, incidentally. A lot of people asking what's the situation with him. He says he don't know. Clement says he doesn't know if he'll be available for Wednesday. If he is available, Chris, would you start
him? I think that becomes a difficult call. He has chipped in with his goals of late. I know he's not exactly flavour of the month with a number of fans. I think he does still have his critics. I would be inclined to stick with that Barron, Raskin, Diomande 3. I think that's the way to go. Say in time like you, I would like to see Barami operate in there, but there's circumstances, so it's not going to happen certainly for the next couple of weeks until there's other options available on the left. So I think Barami starts left, Tierney clearly starts on the right. Hopefully he can continue his goal scoring form, and I think it's probably Diomande at 10. Clement didn't really sound overly optimistic about Lawrence when he spoke on Thursday night. I think he said he had more fear, or a bigger fear, something like that. They're clearly still trying to get to the bottom of it. So I'd be surprised if it's a quick enough turnaround for him to make Wednesday. Again, I'm assuming it will come up in his presser tomorrow, and hopefully we can get a bit more of a detailed timeline on him.
Another player that I forgot about until Neil brought him up. He says Haji's back for Wednesday. Yes, he has served his suspension, so he is available as well. He has to be part of the squad, Chris. I can't see him starting the game, but he will be on the bench, you'd imagine.
Yes, I think he'll come back into the squad. I think a bench place is as good as it can get for him at present. A frustrating couple of weeks for him after a frustrating couple of months for him. Now he finally gets that chance, gets himself back in. I think we agreed at the time that it was the reddest of red cards all day long, even though he didn't mean it. He didn't go out to make a harsh challenge. It was one of them. It was a forwards challenge. It was a challenge of a guy who's a bit short of match sharpness at present. He's also served his ban now. So I don't see him coming into the starting lineup, but he could be a useful option if Rangers need him off the bench.
Yep. That's good to see him back after that, serving that 2-match ban, of course. Right, that'll do us there, folks. Big thank you to you all for interacting with the show. Those of you that are Rangers Review Extra members on YouTube, we will record our weekly Q&A show this afternoon. I'll stick out the post on the community page. Get your questions in. I'm sure there'll be many who were inundated last week, and I'm sure today will be the same. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel as well, remember that's totally free. You'll not only get the morning briefings, but you get lots more as well. Chris and Stevie covered the game in great detail yesterday with the pre-match and post-match shows. We've got all the press conference stuff to come your way as well. Big interviews, all sorts on the YouTube channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Yeah, those of you that are extra members, I will speak to you later. If not, enjoy your Monday, and we shall speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.